Do you think that poison could taste good?
I've heard that it could. I feel like it, depending on the poison, it either doesn't taste like anything, or isn't there like the idea that like cyanide tastes like peanuts or like nuts or something?
Almonds, I believe.
Almonds.
There's apparently a thing where you could make almond cookies, but with cyanide or arsenic. It's one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And it masks the poison because it just smells like almonds and tastes like it, and then you're dead.
In a perfect world where my consequences don't have like repercussions, I would try it. I would try some like poison cookies or like a poison drink or something, just to say I did. Maybe if there's like a quick cure nearby. I don't know.
I think I would poison and kill someone that way.
What would your ideal means of poisoning and killing someone? Off the record, of course. This isn't. No one's gonna hear. No one's actually gonna hear this. This is just a conversation between friends. We're just like chatting. Like, how would you do it though?
I would extremely like fake a suicide.
Okay,
that's how I do it.
Okay, like someone like downed it themselves. Like, oh, I can't go on in this world. I must abscond to this mortal plane.
I would drug them.
Yeah.
And then move them to the bathtub and do like a wristlet thing.
Nice.
That's what I would do.
My thing has always been one I feel like would be really fun is the classic locked room mystery.
Uh-huh.
And the one I always think of is
it the icicle knife?
It's the icicle knife. It's like you kill the person with the icicle knife.
Yeah.
I think that'd be such a fun time. Mm-hmm. And it just sounds like, I don't know. I'm a fan of the murder mystery. Yeah. I feel like people would have a really fun time solving this, and also I'd be long gone before anyone caught me.
Exactly. I would Gone Girl it right after that.
But in the movie that we watched, a classic from the year 1944, Arsenic and Old Lace, these two old ladies killed 12 men and buried 13.
Yes, that is true.
Do you think they could have gotten away with it in modern day? Do you think people are too paranoid nowadays, or like technology has advanced to such a degree, or you think that like...
I would say yes, they could. Mainly because if they kept the targets that they did, the worst case scenario would be like when you go to Walmart and you see like the missing persons posters, and that's it.
That's fair.
That would be it.
Because I feel like they would have like targeted like homeless men, like people that just didn't have anything left in life, potentially. Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 9 of Holidaze, where we talk about everyone's favorite seasonal / holiday themed movies. And today, as we've been discussing, we're talking about Arsenic and Old Lace, which is a Halloween movie because it takes place on Halloween Day. The exact year, I don't remember if they say, because I know the movie was filmed back in 1942, but wasn't released until 1944 because of how well the Broadway play was doing.
Yeah.
So I don't remember if they state the exact year it takes place on, but it is a Halloween movie.
If I remember correctly, I think the movie opens on a funny note of like, today. Or something like that.
There we go. That's all we needed.
Like, it happens when it happens. Obviously, you could time period piece it in the 40s, but I don't think they said it's a specific year or anything, just that it takes place on Halloween. Which, I guess, the funny thing is, kudos to Cary Grant's character for getting married on Halloween.
Straight up. I wonder if that was like an intentional thing, or it. I mean, as we come to know, Mortimer Brewster, played by Cary Grant, bless him and his acting. He was very like just wanting to get it done with, because also he didn't want anyone to know he was getting married because of his whole deal with marriage.
He was extremely anti-marriage. Like, he's written books on being a bachelor, how love is a myth, that getting married is no good for you. And then he met Elaine.
Well, But that's the thing, though. Elaine lived across the street from his aunt's.
Across the graveyard,
Across the graveyard.
Technically.
Across the way.
Mm-hmm.
For probably, like, ever.
Though.
Like, they've probably known each other since childhood. Because even though we find out he doesn't currently live with them, he probably lived with them when he was younger, I believe.
Yeah.
So they probably knew each other for a long time. He probably went away, or they probably had, like, some spark there. He went away for a long time, had his ideas of how marriage is not what it's cracked up to be. Came back, they reconnect. He finds the spark in her. They fall in love, and now they're married. And props to them. I also really like the idea of a story that doesn't really beat around. Like, this isn't. Yes. Obviously, this movie is not a romance story. It is not focused on Mortimer and Elaine's marriage or their romance, and most of that is played for laughs.
It speed runs a Hallmark movie.
And that's what's so fun about it.
This would be one. Yeah,
oh, for sure.
This would be a Hallmark movie of, like, the anti-marriage It's, oh god, what was the one with Candace Cameron Bure that we watched? The cross-country one.
Oh my god, you can't just put me on the spot like this.
Candace, what did you do?
A Christmas Detour.
That's it. Yeah, Christmas Detour. Okay, so, yeah, a Christmas Detour where it's like, oh, I'm all about love and marriage and this, that, meeting guy who's very anti-marriage, anti-love, and over the course of a week, maybe. It wasn't even a week, I don't think. It was like a couple days. Go ride or die, fall in love for each other. So I'm glad this movie just speed runs past all that, saying, hey, all we know is this guy hates love and romance, but this girl was the one who, like, cracked that. We don't know anything about Elaine, actually. Elaine doesn't have a lot of character in this movie, but she's fun.
Yeah, what I like about that is that the moments that she's there. Okay, I've got a. I'm going to my mind palace real quick, and I'm organizing my thoughts.
Yeah,
of course, the movie opens with Mortimer Brewster and Elaine, last name here. Elaine, well, okay, I guess her name is Elaine Brewster now.
Yeah.
Do we get the minister's name?
Harper.
Harper. So
Harper.
Elaine,
so
she was Elaine
Harper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Elaine Harper to Elaine Brewster. We open up on Halloween. They are getting married very quickly at
It's just like not even a civil ceremony. It's like you go sign at the registry or something like that.
It's just a really quick thing, and he doesn't want anyone to know. He's sort of trying to go undercover. It doesn't really work out for him. It's played for some good laughs, of course. Mm-hmm. What I like about Mortimer and Elaine's relationship is, even though we never see anything of their past, we don't need it. Like, obviously, this isn't the movie that it is for a reason, but we don't get any, like, flashbacks to their past. We don't really talk about them of when they were younger, or, like, the build up to this, but all of their interactions is very, like, you can see that chemistry between them really well.
Yes.
And it works really well for them without needing, like, a bunch of unnecessary build up and, like, romance plot.
Yeah.
Whenever they get to be together, it is either played for laughs or leans into the romance because I feel like a running theme of this movie, as we have discussed in our own time, is that it is a multitude of genres fighting against each other for the spotlight. And whenever Elaine is on screen, it's definitely that, like, old-timey romance drama where, like, the camera will zoom in on her and she'll, like, take this air of, like, this air that you would see of, like, a beautiful damsel in a movie from the 1940s.
It's the way that I think we've kind of almost described is there's, like, a noir kind of effect to it.
Yeah, it's such an interesting change. And then when it zooms out again, you have Cary Grant, like, being Cary Grant and overacting in a good way, of course.
Well, and that's the thing, is because Cary Grant was an extremely versatile actor who was known for doing drama, comedy, romance, thriller, horror. Like, he kind of did it all, because he was known for Alfred Hitchcock works. He was known in Bringing Up Baby. That was all about, like, a guy and his and this woman raising a leopard together.
Okay.
Like, just a whole ass leopard.
Me and who?
Yeah, exactly. So he does a lot of stuff, and this movie is classified as a black comedy because
obviously the subject material.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, that's the thing. It is a very funny movie, but the plot is centered around two little old ladies who have murdered 12 people over the years, and like they see nothing wrong with it. Like,
it is
if
normal.
If you read this in the news of two elderly women charged with 12 counts of murder over the past years, that would be insane.
Horrifying.
Like, oh
how did no one catch them before this?
Exactly. How did this not happen? But in this context of this story, it is just the funniest thing ever. Like, seeing all of the errors and comedy around it.
I think it's just because of how... Not that... Obviously, there are many talented actors and actresses in this film, and Cary Grant is, of course, just one of them. I think it's just because he is the one that is, like, the most astounded by it. Like, he has the most reaction to it, and most of the other people, either that are in the know, don't have much reaction to it. They're like,
no.
Oh, interesting, or oh, this is normal, or
it's normal to them. I think there's technically a little bit of almost, it feels like, fourth wall breaking moments with
of course.
Cary Grant's character, which is very funny to see in the 40s.
He's constantly like shooting looks at the camera at the imagined audience, which I feel like probably comes from this being a stage play beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Could be, yeah.
I would imagine like maybe that is what they're trying to convey, is like, oh, the actor looks to the audience like, can you believe this shit?
Yeah. And so I think it's interesting when you have, again, like you said, the ants, they don't, there's no reaction to the murders that are happening because they're the ones doing them, and also it's normal for them. Teddy doesn't know what's happening. He's insane.
No.
He's clinically insane.
He's unfortunately has some mental health issues.
Yes.
That aren't really extrapolated on.
No.
And I don't, obviously it doesn't need to be, and it's never played up, or I'm not going to say it is played up in a way that is completely PC to how one would handle someone with mental health issues, but it's not done in a completely, like, insulting way.
I think it could have, for something that was done in the 40s and is done as a mental illness haha funny, it could have been handled a lot worse.
And it is funny.
It is funny, and I think it's to their credit that even within the movie, because a friend of ours who had seen the movie before, but had just kind of forgotten some parts, was kind of like, oh, well, I guess if we were to classify this, we could say, okay, maybe he's got dissociative identity disorder, and he has latched on to the idea that I'm Teddy Roosevelt. And they had asked, well, it's like, well, if they knew it was causing such a problem, like, would they try to find him a different identity or anything like that? And I was like, yeah, the movie states that at some point they said, well, we tried to convince him to be, like, George Washington or something instead. And he just stayed under his bed and was no one at all for a week. And that's still funny. Like, it's unfortunate. But it's funny that to them, they see, hey, yes, he has this, like, clinical mental illness kind of thing, but he's not hurting himself, and he's not hurting anyone else, so why not just let him live his life, kind of thing. Like, and I think that's a nice way to handle it in the context of the situation. Yes, they used him to help cover up murder, but still.
Yes, but it's fine. He enjoyed it, and he liked it. It's fine. So we have Mortimer and Elaine. They've gotten married very quick, and they are expected to be going to Alaska. Niagara Falls. Why did I say? Wanted to say Alaska. I don't know why that came to mind.
Still north.
They're going to Niagara Falls, and first off, Elaine has to go home and pack, and I believe Mortimer needs to do the same. I believe he was like staying with his aunts who live in a very nice ancestral home in Brooklyn, New York. The Brewster family have lived there for years and years and years.
There's apparently a thing where it's not brought up in the movie, but is in the play, it's said in passing in the movie of the Brewsters are direct descendants from the Mayflower settlers.
Colonizers, let's go.
Yeah, so they are, you could probably say, very old money.
Very old money. And this, I mean, the set is very nice. The set in the house itself is very nice looking for that era, I would believe. Situated right next to a graveyard. Yeah. Also, again, across the way from Elaine and her father, who is a reverend. They live in a nice place, and when we meet the beat cops that are around the area, everyone's saying that, oh, the ladies Brewster are both very lovely women. Check on them, be nice, and also be mindful of their other nephew, Teddy Roosevelt Brewster, who believes he is Teddy Roosevelt. Just play along with it. He's horn loud. We get some complaints sometimes because he'll play his horn or yell a lot. It's fine. He's a very nice lad. Just go with it. And that's not to derail the summary or anything like that, but it is also very nice how people play along with the character. Yes. Like even characters that like just meet Teddy are like immediately like falling into the Mr. President dialogue, and it's I don't know, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice, and that everyone just like it feels less like this is the nephew of the Brewsters and more like, oh, this is just Teddy Roosevelt, and he's just a character in the movie. It's fine.
Yeah, he just lives with these two little old ladies. I think again back to the funny point before of could they get away with this today, and why? I would still say yes, because as the cops say at some point, or our senior officer rather, he brings up that the Brewster sisters only target elderly men who are homeless and without family.
Yes.
They are only targeting people who have no connections to anyone or anything. And in their minds, because again, not excusing anything that they do, obviously. There is no excuse for murder, unless they're a powerful person. Haha. You can kill them, but they are only killing people that they feel have nothing to live for or nothing better going for them.
It's almost like a non-consensual assisted suicide of sorts in their mind. But in their mind, what they're doing is fine. It's like, well, you don't have anything else. Like,
you have no family, you have no home, like, there is you have no one to take care of you in this world. It is just you alone, and that's it. So to them, it's like, do you want to keep on living this life, like, in a self-imposed misery in a way, or to their minds at least, or do you want to just move on to the pearly gates? They seem to be respectful of the religions that they have, whether it's Methodist, Protestant, or what have you kind of thing, and they will give them a good Christian burial in their basement. And so, yeah, I think to that point, if they were only still killing people who aren't going to be noticed to go missing, yeah, they'd get away with it still, I think.
Do you think a modern-day adaptation of this movie would still play it the same way? Do you think they would replace the character of Teddy Roosevelt with, like, a different character? Like,
a different president or something?
I don't want to say, like, with, like, Trump or something, but, like, do you think that they would modernize the character of Teddy Roosevelt, or do you think they would keep Teddy Roosevelt?
I think that it would be funny if it was, like, because...
Do you think people know who Teddy Roosevelt is nowadays?
I sure hope so. Because Theodore Roosevelt was president from 1901 to 1909. And if this movie came out in the 40s, I think having a president that's like 30 years past kind of thing would just be a funny little bit.
I don't think we've had a president as funny that wasn't like cringe.
Yeah.
Like Theodore Roosevelt. With like the mannerisms on display here. I'm of course that is hamming it up on purpose, but you know, it works.
Which means if we stuck with the 30 years ago thing, he would have to
Nixon
pretend. No,
he'd
have to pretend to be H.W. Bush.
Oh, that's true.
Which I don't
Nah.
know if you could make it work is the thing. Like the set as it is kind of requires it to be someone like Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it would be, I think it sticks as Teddy is a funny thing and it works. I could see like a Lincoln could be fun, or a Washington, yeah.
I think so, but I think it just works the way it is for a reason. But yeah, we have these characters living in the Brewster house, and everything is going normally. Mortimer is getting ready to go on his honeymoon. His aunts are over the moon with the news. They are going to go make him a cake, get everything ready for like a little gathering before he goes off. And as Mortimer is like searching for I believe he is searching for something to do with one of his books that he was writing and is probably not going to be writing anymore because of his currently change/hypocritical stance on marriage.
I think he makes a joke, or not a joke, but he does have a little line where he's like, "Do you still have my notes from my book that I'm working on?" So I think maybe he could switch to a pseudonym, or
That's
maybe
fair.
he's going to take those notes and turn it into something new. But it almost seems like he kind of doesn't want Elaine to know that, like, hey, I was still working on / am still working on a book that's still about marriage's nonsense.
He's a popular author. Like,
Yeah.
it brings in the money.
Yeah.
Like, he obviously must live in a nice place outside of this ancestral family home, as mentioned, that he doesn't live with them anymore. Like, and I don't know how much rent went for in 1944 in New York, but hey, he must be doing well for himself. But he's looking for these notes, and he looks in a window seat that had been occasionally nodded to by his aunts, Abby and Martha. And when he opens it, he's like, oh, no, it's not in here. Closes it. Opens it again. What's that? That's a dead body. What's that doing in there? Oh no. I think my brother Teddy Roosevelt killed a man. And as he's like very quickly and frantically trying to explain this to his dear aunts, it's fine.
I just took some psychic damage because I did have to look at rent in New York in the 1940s.
Don't do this to you shouldn't have done this to yourself.
I've done it, unfortunately, because the median gross rent in New York in 1940s was $39, which equivalent more to today would be $622.
Oh my god. Inflation. Inflation.
I'm losing my mind.
I love the economy. Abby and Martha are very quick to tell him with very knowing smiles that, no, dear, it wasn't Teddy that did that. We did it. We're the ones that killed him.
Yeah.
He was a very nice man, but he was very lonely, and we just thought it'd be nice if we ended his suffering by poisoning him with our elderberry wine that they make themselves and just apply a little bit of arsenic to.
Arsenic, strychnine, and cyanide, yeah. It's funny also because actually, while elderberries are good, their leaves are poisonous.
I don't think I've ever had elderberry anything before.
I've had elderflower liqueur, and elderberry haven't had anything. But I did eat the leaves one time. That did happen.
And you died.
Yeah.
Right. And as Cary Grant / Mortimer Brewster is doing his acting, his damnedest, to his damnedest, we also find out that Teddy is the one that has been burying these bodies in the basement because he has been told that they are yellow fever victims and that he needs to go bury them in the Panama Canal, which is located conveniently in the basement of this New York home. Cary Grant does such a good job in this role, and I think it is very funny to read that Frank Capra told him to overdo it,
Mm-hmm.
and that Cary Grant said that he didn't like his acting in this movie because of how much he overdid it.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I was being a little too exaggerating here, but Frank Capra wanted me to do it, so I had to do it. And I don't know. I guess the actor and the audience are very two different perspectives of a role, but I enjoyed his acting.
Oh, for sure. Like, it really makes the movie what it is in a way. I also had the unfortunate thought of, I don't know how well, if someone were to try and remake this movie today, would be able to balance the comedy with the horror aspects the way that they are in this movie. I think this movie would turn into too much of, like, either just a bad humor, like they're trying to be funny and it's not, or they would lean too much into the horror side of it.
I think that's the issue there, is like, this movie strikes a really good balance between the various genres that it wants to dip into for enhanced comedic value, and even enhanced actual tension, as we come to in a little bit in the movie. Nowadays, like you said, they wouldn't balance it correctly. There are a lot of very quick, like, minor bits and, like, jokes thrown into this movie that rely on not, like, fully pulling your attention to something, and, like, things happening in the background or very quickly that I feel like that in this movie are not heavily focused on, but in, like, a modern day with, like, modern filmmaking, if you were not shooting this movie 1-to-1, would probably end up in someone's artistic vision as, like, a bunch of quick cuts and, like, zoom shots and whatnot, just to, like, to quote-unquote enhance the movie in its own way.
I feel like they would make the insanity side of this that is kind of put onto the family members more
unhinged.
Like like, oh, they will actually try to kill you kind of thing, which is not how that works.
And that's why it's so nice to see how these characters are, is that even Teddy himself doesn't come across as unhinged. It feels like he's just a guy. He's just a guy who just thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt. Abby and Martha aren't, like, crazy old women that are out to kill everyone. They're just old ladies that just believe they are in the right. Like, they don't see a problem with what they're doing. That's it. Like, it's not like they're like... Obviously, yes, they might have a screw loose, but it's not like that they are being written or portrayed in a way that is like, oh, if you one wrong move and they're gonna kill you, you better watch out.
Yeah, like, obviously, they are having some mental issues if to them it is like, oh yeah, you're old and alone and have nothing, we're just gonna kill you kind of thing. Like, that's not okay. They are clearly not all that well in the head if that's the case. But it is not like they're going out to find them or something like that.
Hell,
like, it's perfectly content as a spider web.
The elderberry wine, which is in, like, a nice what's the word for a nice decanter. Like, this nice decanter of elderberry wine is, like, placed firmly on the table throughout the movie after it is introduced very, very early on, and it is sort of a Chekhov's gun of sorts. It is a smoking gun put on the table for everyone for the audience to know that is poisoned, and if you drink it, you will die very quickly. That a few characters know, and only one character, Mortimer, is trying to stop people most of the time from drinking it.
Yeah.
The thing is that besides a quick moment where a person fitting the role of
lonely old bachelor.
Yes. A lonely old bachelor rolls in looking for the room to rent that the Brewsters are offering up, and Mortimer has to stop him from drinking the wine that his aunts offer him and scare him out because he doesn't want this man to die, because now he knows and is like, oh, if I let this man die, I am part of the problem because I am not telling anyone, but I also don't want my aunts to go to jail or get found out because that would be terrible. And also I don't want anyone to know that I'm connected to this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is very fun. Like, there are multiple times where the two aunts see someone go for that wine and they're like, hey, don't drink that. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Because they don't want to kill they don't want to kill normal people, quote unquote, normal people that don't fit what they are looking for in a person. Like, they just want to kill this very specific subset of individual that just so happen to have constantly run into their abode to look for the room to rent. And I think that is very fun because they know that killing someone is bad. A murder is a bad thing.
Mm.
What they're doing is not murder in their eyes. And I think that is a very fine line that a modern adaptation would maybe not... Maybe it is my cynicism for modern day media and media making that I don't have much faith in how people would possibly portray these characters.
Yeah.
Who could say? I would honestly be very interested to see this modernized, but I also... I don't know, I just would rather just be 1-to-1.
Yeah.
But, you know, everyone wants to do their own spin on things, and that's fine, but then you risk complications being involved. But we now have the crux of the issue. We have Mortimer now knows that his aunts have been killing people and burying their bodies down below. Unfortunately, to throw another wrench into the plan, the third brother shows up. Mortimer's other brother, Jonathan, who is what we know of him is that he was a criminal who was sent to prison at a younger age. I don't believe we ever get the character's direct age or
apparently
any of the characters' ages, really. But
the reading, or the from what I've read, is that they're saying that Jonathan is also just a serial killer in some way or another.
He does mention that he had, like, obviously him and his German accomplice, played by, his German accomplice / plastic surgeon / homosexual life mate.
Yes.
Dr. Herman Einstein, played by Peter Lorre, bless him. They do mention, like, multiple murders the two of them have been involved in. But I don't know if that like started like before or after he got sent to prison and then I believe escaped prison or what. He comes back into the house seeking it's like seeking refuge / seeking like to start a new life here / not start a new life as in turning over a new leaf because he is definitely a bad person, but to like sort of find a way to hide out for a while things cool over. And Jonathan himself is barely recognized by any of the Brewsters because he's had a lot of plastic surgery done by Dr. Einstein to, as the film puts it, make him resemble Boris Karloff, who originated the role of Jonathan Brewster in the play adaptation and was the only actor that wasn't allowed out of his contract to star in this movie, which is such a shitty thing to do when you later learn, like, reading into Boris Karloff and learning, like, oh, he really wanted to do this movie, he loved this role, and he was the only one that wasn't allowed to do it, made him extremely mad, and he wouldn't get to, like, do a movie version of this until, like, 20 years later or something, until like the 1960s.
There's some interesting stuff of how, like, I was reading about this recently because I was watching, there was a series of films by famous director Roger Corman who decided to make adaptations of various Edgar Allan Poe stories. Most of them star Vincent Price, because it's Vincent Price and he's a ham, and we love him for that. But Boris Karloff was also in some of these. And finally, the last one that we watched was The Raven, which stars Vincent Price, Boris Karloff, and Peter Lorre all together.
Excellent.
As 3 wizards who are kind of like fighting with each other, sort of.
I don't know a lot about Boris Karloff, but those 3 would be wizards.
Yeah, 100%. So the funny thing that was also seen was Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi were 2 famous horror actors of the 30s and 40s. However, Boris Karloff always made it a point to get top billing on his features, even if he wasn't the main actor in them.
Interesting.
which was much to the chagrin of Lugosi, who was pinned below Karloff in films, even when he had a bigger role than Karloff, because 1, Karloff asked for it, and 2, racism, because Lugosi was not American.
Yeah.
And so that created some problems, to say the least. But, yeah,
the times
so
were
definitely had his
different and not great.
Yeah. He had his quirks to him, definitely, but, he is still a very good actor, and it is kind of unfortunate to have seen that being known as a horror movie actor, getting to not play this part in a comedy is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, it is really unfortunate.
Not that Raymond Massey does not do a phenomenal job with this role.
Raymond Massey as this character is like, he sells the horror/thriller aspect of it because he looks like he's actually going to kill someone at any moment. And I believe as my minor research took me, and people notice things that I don't always notice right away myself. Whenever the camera is ever zoomed in on the character of Jonathan, he is never blinking. He never blinks. He's always like the same, like, open-eyed, like, dead stare, either at someone or just like in the distance, like in the direction of someone. It is extremely well done and menacing. And the character, like, I believe Raymond Massey and Cary Grant are like similar heights, like maybe just a few inches off from each other.
Yes,
both tall men themselves. But...
Yeah, Cary Grant was like 6'2" and Raymond Massey was 6'3". Like, they're big.
But the way the movie like carries the two characters, Raymond Massey, like Jonathan, just feels like this imposing, taller than anyone else in the movie presence. Especially when you put him next to Peter Lorre, who is a very short man himself.
He's like 5'4", yeah.
Who is like
way over that. Constantly
like hunched over a little bit and sort of like just at Jonathan's side at any given time. They do a really good job at like putting these two characters and like making this one character who is pretty much isn't like the overlying threat of the bodies in the basement, like in a part of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jonathan's here. The family is just getting bigger and bigger, and we're bringing more characters in.
The entire genre changes
on a dime.
When Jonathan walks in and Mortimer walks out.
Yeah, Mortimer leaves because Mortimer is trying to quickly
commit Teddy
to a home for the mentally ill, and he is able to get into contact with the people, but he needs a bunch of like different things. Like he needs a judge to sign some papers. He needs his aunts to sign some papers. He needs Teddy to sign some papers. He needs a doctor. There's so many things that he has going on right now, and he's also extremely worried about the bodies in the basement. And then he's also extremely worried that he has a honeymoon to get to with his now wife, who is now, and things are being on a rocky relationship there. Yeah. He's stressed the hell out.
After he physically picks her up and not throws her, but drops her outside of the home.
Yeah. And she stomps home angry. Mortimer is extremely quick to leave the house and tell everyone, don't do anything. Just don't do anything. I'll be right back. And the moment he leaves, Jonathan shows up. And just the lighting changes. Like, all the lights dim or go dark. The
music darkens from
the
the cheery little tones that we have of, again, murderers, these ants, and relating to their scenes, is the happy little things. But even in moments where it's like the music turns, there's a scene where I believe Aunt Abby is walking off with a hat that one of the gentlemen had, and she puts it in a cabinet with 11 other hats as a reminder that, hey, they have.
Well, they don't want to forget the people. It's very important that they know that they like honor them.
They've got graves and everything. But the point is that the genre does shift there. And when Jonathan comes in, yes, the whole set seems to darken. The music gets more ominous or quiet. They make it even a point of him having them turn off the lights because he is hiding from the police. So the whole set, while Jonathan is around, switches to being dark or dim or just by candlelight or matchlight even.
It just feels like, again, the tone shifts in such a very quick and like abrupt direction, and it's not a bad thing, but it does feel like, oh, this guy could kill any of these characters. If I wasn't like assured that this is still like a comedy movie and the movie is still being funny with how it portrays certain aspects of it, I would almost be like, oh, someone's about to die. Like, this dude's gonna go like kill Teddy or something like that and add him to the body count. But you have these two characters that have entered the scene, and what they need to do is dispose of a body of their latest victim. I believe his name was like Mr. Spinalzo. Spinalzo, yeah. Obviously, and now obviously we have a thing of characters don't know what the other characters have done yet.
Yeah.
And everyone's beating around the bush or not really understanding everyone's intentions and motives. The ants are freaked out a little bit because this man doesn't look like Jonathan, but sounds like Jonathan, and they still know that Jonathan is a criminal, and they are very good Christian women who would never harbor a criminal under their roof.
No. He was a foreigner.
Yes.
And also, they only kill nice men, and I'm assuming that they would be Christian men or something, I don't know. There's reasons for all of this, technically, actually, in the if you look under the covers of what this movie is actually about. There is a reasoning for this.
But we just have all these we immediately have all these conflicting things going on. And during all of this, Mortimer comes back into the scene, and though the movie doesn't immediately throw out the tension, it does. Cary Grant still is performing in a comedy. Cary Grant is performing in a comedy.
Yeah.
Raymond Massey and Peter Lorre are performing in a horror thriller. And the aunts of Abby and Martha, played by Josephine Hall and Gina Dare, are sort of in a mix of things at the moment. They're playing it by ear, and most of the time they're in a comedy, but occasionally they're also part of the thriller. Teddy is always in a comedy.
Yes. Teddy doesn't know where he is, but he's having a great time.
We immediately have these two different genres mashing against each other in a way that you would think maybe wouldn't work for what they're trying to do, but extremely does. We get Jonathan learning about what his aunts have been up to, and wants to also bury his body, Mr. Spinalzo, down there with their most recent John, who I don't think is ever named. I don't think their number 13 was ever named, but they want to, Jonathan and
Hoskins, Mr. Hoskins.
Hoskins, you're right.
Yes.
Hoskins, who we never see. We never actually see the corpse, no. I believe. Like, any of the corpses.
We technically only see the corpse in
the body bag.
Full shadowing.
Yes. Well, we see Mr. Spinalzo's body bag, I believe.
I don't think we see Spinalzo, but we see Hoskins after Teddy takes the body out of the window seat in complete darkness.
You're right.
Down to the basement, but it is still very shadowed, and we don't see any full featuring on how this man looks or who he is.
But, of course, as you said, Abby and Martha object to this burial, this duo burial, because Mr. Spinalzo is a foreigner, and they do not want to allow that under their household. Meanwhile, Mortimer is getting more and more in the way, or learning about the things that Jonathan is up to, and is going to kill his brother. He wishes to just clean up those loose ends a little bit. It's fine. You'll be all right. A lot of things... It's really hard to talk about the stuff that is happening in this movie because things sort of move at their own breakneck pace, and a solid bit of it is, though it does have moments where you are allowed to sit and just sit with the movie for a hot second, most of those are done in the night when the body is being transported, or in quiet scenes where Jonathan and Dr. Einstein are talking about what their next move is, etc., etc. But other than that, there's very often like jokes or things happening on screen, whether in the foreground or in the background, to advance the plot in a small way or like show how things are changing. The set always feels like there is something happening on it, and one of those things is, of course, every time Teddy has a habit of yelling charge and running up the stairs and slamming his door and knocking the grandfather clock's hands loose and messing up the time. And so it's really hard to always tell what time things are as they change it sporadically, but it definitely adds to like the feeling of this place existing in a weird suspension of time, even though we can tell time is passing and night is encroaching and is going on while things are happening. It feels like you're never really sure what time it is exactly as these characters are moving about and pushing the plot along. It's a very interesting way of moving things along, and yet not really. It almost feels like the audience is also unsure about what is happening at any given moment. Elaine is mad. Elaine is schmad at Schmortimer because she wants to get on with her honeymoon.
Yeah, she's ready to go.
She loved this man so much, but
I don't know what she sees in him,
but Mortimer is acting like a freak. Mortimer's behavior is getting more and more capital F freakish as the night goes on, because he's busy trying to cover up a murder, and she's wanted to get on with her romance movie plot. Mortimer himself is trying so hard to alert the policeman that stops by to what Jonathan is doing. But the policeman, in true cop fashion, is a complete idiot who does not know how to take a hint, and is instead so self-focused on, after learning that Mortimer is the Mortimer Brewster, the writer, this policeman wishes to explain to Mortimer all about his manuscript for a play he has an idea for, seeming to be written about the cop's life, or a idealized, dramatized version of this police officer's life, played by himself, probably. It's not working. Mortimer is trying his best, Jonathan's playing it cool, and Jonathan is meanwhile trying to pin or let it be known what his aunts have been up to. Mortimer's trying to sway things away from that. Mortimer is also trying to have Teddy legally committed still, because he wants to... I don't know if he's trying to pin the blame on Teddy.
He's basically kind of saying that if they get caught, if it is found out that there are all these dead bodies in there, that they could say, my brother did it and he's insane, so he won't go to jail and neither will the aunts. That is the way they're swinging it.
Like, it is fine, we will have this man committed to an asylum. We don't have to worry about him being sent to prison.
It's a good plan.
You know, it's not that bad.
Just put it off on them. But it's not going great, mainly just because there's another body, and there's Jonathan, and there's Einstein. And they are all trying to just slip this in there, because now Jonathan has found out about the bodies, and is a little jealous of the fact his aunts have the same body count as him, with no consequence to their actions either.
Yeah, the police aren't after the aunts. They are, honestly, they're better serial killers.
Yeah, exactly. And so he is now trying to lord it over Mortimer of, oh, I know that our aunts have done all this terrible stuff, and you're going to get in trouble for it. But then Mortimer finds out about Jonathan's body and is like, okay, hey, I just want you to go. I just want you to leave, because all I want to do is commit my brother and go on my honeymoon.
Like, can you just please get out of here, dude?
Yeah.
I don't even care if you go kill someone. I won't tell anyone, because I'm also not going to be able to tell anyone about my aunts that have been committing murder.
Yeah. He is very committed to just kind of giving them an out here.
Cary Grant goes from being very hyperactive and like maybe overacting to the most exhausted man
Yes.
you've possibly seen in the world. He is so tired as this movie gets on. It almost feels like they shot this all in one take, and Cary Grant himself is physically tired from everything he has been doing in this movie. He just is like, please, I want to go on my hunt. I don't even care about the honeymoon at this point. I just want to go to bed, dude.
They did make this movie in 2 months.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quick to today's standards, so to speak, but this movie only has one main set and occasional like other sets that could easily be reproduced in like a sound stage or something like that.
Yeah.
But everything comes to a head when Jonathan and Dr. Einstein are both they're both going to kill Mortimer. They've got this man dead to rights, and Mortimer himself is none the wiser at the moment, because the scene, of course, has him monologuing and predicting his own downfall as he would describe the unwitting victim of a play's plot that is slowly happening to him in the background of the scene, before he is tied to a chair, gagged, and to all intents and purposes, a dead man. They've got him. Like, if certain things did not happen in the moments they did, Mortimer would probably be joining the bodies downstairs.
Oh, for sure.
Which, all I'm saying, Jonathan's not a smart man.
No.
Jonathan is so willing and quick to want to kill his brother here, to like sort of tie up that loose end. Like, there's been a cop in this house like 30 minutes ago after you've tried this. Like, there have been cops in this house hours ago at the start of the night. They do a constant check and like routine around here because of what the cop implies. The ants are still right upstairs alongside Teddy, which obviously Jonathan can prove that, oh, they've been doing murder downstairs, or they could figure something out, I'm sure. He's not an idiot, but he's still not thinking of the future.
No.
Like, you're just putting more fire under your own ass. I don't really, like, know why he's trying to do this, but hey.
I mean, the ants...
He enjoys it, is the thing. Like,
yes.
Jonathan is a psychopath.
Like, light up to Einstein. They're fine with him. He's respectful to them.
Man.
He's respectful to Teddy. Like, yeah, he's still assisting with murder regularly, but he's nice to them, and he's nice with what's going on.
You could tell, not to defend the serial killer that is Dr. Einstein, but Peter Lorre does such a good job at wanting to, like, you just want to like pat him on the shoulder and send him on his way. He's just such a nice little guy.
He's a good dude.
It's like, oh, it's fine. Even he himself, like, you could tell Dr. Einstein is, like, apprehensive about all of this. Like, he doesn't want to do, like, this killing.
Yeah.
Like, he'll get into it, but he doesn't, like, want to continue this. He just wants to go on his way. He just wants to, like, lie low with his tall BF, and that's it. His tall freak BF.
Yeah. We've all wanted to be there at some point or another.
Yeah, we all just want a quiet life with our tall freak BF. But Mortimer is almost dead to rights, and is almost successful in getting both Dr. Einstein and Jonathan to drink from the poisoned elderberry wine that has been sitting out all night.
Yeah.
But just as they're about to do it, wouldn't you know it, the policeman shows back up. Mortimer is bound and gagged to this chair, freaking out. And this cop sees nothing wrong with this. He's like,
no.
Oh, hey, you told me you were going to meet me at this bar, like, an hour ago. You stood me up, bud. I was going to tell you all about the rest of my play. Here, let me get you out of that. Let me get you out of that chair. Wait a minute. I know what I should do. I'm going to just tell you about the rest of my play right now without having to, like, without untying you so you can listen to the entire thing. I know you'll enjoy it. It's good writing. This dude sucks. Fuck this cop.
He's dreadful at his job.
You almost got yourself killed, and you almost got this man killed.
Yeah.
Mortimer's so tired, dude.
Yeah. This poor little man.
And Jonathan is also this close. My fingers are touching. He's this close to snapping this man's neck.
Yeah. He's ready to go.
And in walks more cops.
Yeah. They just all show up because our main cop, who's been trying to get his story written this whole time and get his critique, didn't tell his bosses where he was. And they're like, "You've been gone, like, for hours. What up?"
You went drinking on the job.
Yeah, you did just walk out to a bar to meet a dramatic critic, as they also kind of put it, when you're supposed to be doing your job. What up? What happened?
Come on, dude. At least do it without anybody finding out, or at least, like, call in first and let us know. We were so worried about you, bud. A fight ensues because Jonathan misunderstands what is happening, because the cops say things in such a way that Jonathan hears it as, "They found out who I am, and they have come to arrest me." The cops don't know shit about this man. No. They just think he looks like Boris Karloff, which is a very...
That's his activation phrase.
That's his activation phrase. And Jonathan does what we all want to do and punches these cops.
Yeah.
And kicks off a fight. In the background, of course, things get thrown around. Mortimer is tied to his chair, and then I believe is untied from his chair at some point, and is just sitting down. He's so tired. He's just letting everything go on in the background. He's trying to get into contact with the doctor still to, like, have Teddy committed. He's just trying to get everything done, and he doesn't want anyone to find out about his poor, probably crazy aunts that have been committing so many murders.
So much.
And so we have this all culminating in, is it the police chief? This Irishman that walks in, like he's...
Yes. I think he's a sergeant?
He's high ranking and well respected, and the moment he walks into this house, everyone stops what they're doing. Okay. Everyone stops what they're doing, because this man is sort of the no-nonsense, like, straight man to everything going on in the plot at the moment, who almost himself feels agnostic to the rest of the movie. Like, he is outside of the genres, in a sense. He's not unvictimized by the genre, as we come to see, but he is more level-headed and like, what the hell is going on here? What are you doing?
Yeah.
This man attacked some cops? Arrest him. Yeah. We've been looking for someone like that. This is probably the man we have been looking for.
How did y'all miss this?
Oh, there's bodies in the basement? Nice joke. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, he immediately brushes off any and all ideas that these two elderly women just murdered all of these people over time. That's like, no, that's stupid. You're stupid. I'm leaving. Like, done. But it wraps itself up right there, though, is the thing.
I feel like this isn't a downfall of the movie. Like, this isn't like a critique I have, but it does feel... It feels rushed in a way that is probably on purpose. I'm not myself familiar with the play, with the screen, the play
I've
adaptation.
I've seen the play
of this.
once. I think I have the script somewhere for it that I saw at like this bookstore one day. But yeah.
I don't know if things are maybe any different there. I mean, it wraps itself up nicely, but it does wrap itself up pretty quickly.
Yeah, there is some stuff that's kind of missing from the movie that I think was very, very in passing of... Apparently Mortimer starts having a bit of a crisis with himself and his marriage with Elaine based on the fact that my aunts have been murdering people, my brother thinks that he's Teddy Roosevelt, and my other brother has also been murdering people. Is this just running in the family? Is this genetic?
Is this genetic? Am I going crazy?
Yeah.
And the thing is that, yes,
do I have the serial killer gene? That's what he's worried
Does he have the serial killer gene?
Yeah.
I want to see Riverdale do Arsenic and Old Lace in one of their musical episodes.
Please.
But, and I mean, Mortimer's acting throughout this movie is like, yes, he's like at his wit's end. He feels like he's the only sane man to try to keep things under wraps from Elaine, from the cops, from Jonathan initially, just from everyone in general. He has like been going to odd lengths to hide the fact that his aunts have been doing a murder. And yes, he himself is crazy, and a lot of people have remarked on that, oh, he is the one that is being committed because of how he has been acting, which he is extremely offended by, of course.
Yeah, there is a joke when, after all of the insanity that's been happening, the, I guess, director, the head doctor or whatever at the psychiatric institute, Mortimer brings up that he's like, oh, we're just committing my brother, and the guy is just looking at all the chaos that's happening, and he's like, just your brother? He's like, don't even start
you
with me
dare.
right now.
But the way the things end up is that the Abby and Martha find out that Teddy is being committed. Everyone has signed the papers. Teddy initially had them signed as Teddy Roosevelt, but had it changed to his actual name, which we never find out, of course, and we never really need to for any reason. The only thing they're missing is a doctor's signature. Thankfully, they have Dr. Einstein right there, who thinks he's been caught, signs the papers, and then rushes out of this movie so he could of the madness. And everything has been squared away for Teddy. Abby and Martha don't want to lose their precious nephew and decide that they want to commit themselves to the asylum. And so Mortimer helps them commit themselves because they've got pretty much everyone here to go along with that. Why not? It seems like a nice place. They'll be fed. It's like a nursing home. Yeah.
It's a family outing. Yeah.
And so, in a sense, everything does get wrapped up nicely for the time being for Mortimer, because his aunts are being taken care of. They probably won't be committing any more murder in a mental institution. Teddy's somewhere safe for him. Jonathan's being taken away to prison. No one found out about the bodies.
Yeah.
And Elaine did find out about the bodies.
Elaine does find out about the bodies, but is immediately rushed off stage, essentially.
Mortimer has magic lips and is able to kiss the worries away from her. And they rush off to the poor taxi cab, who we have not mentioned, but has been sitting outside for many hours with like the meter running. It's fine.
Waiting and hoping.
I hope that guy got paid really well, because that poor dude has been sitting out there probably in the cold all night waiting for these two for hours. It's 1944. He can't just pull out his phone and play a video game. He can't scroll Twitter.
No.
Poor thing. But that's how we wrap our movie up. Mortimer has successfully gotten rid of his aunts and his crazy family. The aunts drop the bombshell, quote unquote, that, no, Mortimer, we have something to tell you. You're not a Brewster by blood. Your mother, his mother was a cook for them, right?
Yes, she was the family cook, and his father was a cook on a ship. Which, again, without necessarily the context of Mortimer being concerned about his upbringing, this carries a little less.
This isn't like, this is just a... This is only there to assuage him that he is not in the genetic pool of the serial killer gene. He's just normal crazy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to worry about passing that gene along to his kids if he decides to marry Elaine, which he does, of course. He stays married to her. He's fine. He's so happy. Mm-hmm. Technically, he doesn't have to worry about any of this anymore. Off to the honeymoon they go. And that's it. That's the movie.
And that's it.
A solid 118-minute runtime. They get everything they need done. They're in and out. Everything's wrapped up nicely. I guess there are still 14 bodies in the basement to a house that is...
I think just 13.
No, because Spinalzo did get put down there.
Yeah, so he was 13, because there was 12 of them.
And Huskins was also down there.
I thought he was 12.
No, he was okay.
No, because they said it was an even dozen.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, I thought he was 13, because I thought the even dozen I thought the thing was, oh, you might be right, because I thought the thing was the first person they buried was a man that was looking for a room, and fit their MO.
Yeah, I think that's what she was saying.
Had a heart attack.
Yeah, I think she was saying, no, it was because Martha, I think, was saying that it was 11, and Abby said, no, it's 12, because then also when they're talking with Jonathan and Einstein brings up, you've got 12, they've got 12. So I think it should be 13 bodies in there.
Well, I've been saying 13 as if they did number 13 the entire movie, so...
That's fine.
Fuck you, past Tyler.
Unless it is the case of maybe they may have killed 12 and buried 13.
Possibly.
And then 14 being Spinalzo. But yeah.
One way or another, there's
multiple bodies in the cellar.
There are 12 plus bodies in the basement at the moment that are just going to stay there. Like, what? I don't know if Mortimer's going to have no ties to this house anymore. I don't know what the aunts, of course, say that he is still a Brewster in all but blood, and they would probably pass all, like, things onto him.
Yeah.
If they had to, like, forfeit their possessions in any way. What happens to the house? What happens to the bodies in the basement?
He is marked as next of kin, so yes. the idea would be, yes, when they pass, everything would go to him, because... Well, Teddy can't do anything with it because he's also in the asylum, and Jonathan's going to prison for the rest of his life, probably. So, it just leaves Mortimer.
The only people that know about... Okay, multiple people know about the bodies. Jonathan's not going to be believed anything he says because he is himself I don't know what a serial killer in the 1940s would get a sentencing of.
Mm-hmm.
But that dude could be getting a death penalty.
Yeah.
So in any story he says is not going to be believed because he is a criminal. And who would believe that these nice old ladies would be killing 12 men?
Doing a whole murder.
So Mortimer and Elaine are the only other ones that know. And Elaine seems to be fine.
Yeah. She's distracted off of her concerns.
She got distracted, and I'm sure during their honeymoon, Mortimer can explain what happened and be like, babe... Trust me, it's NBD. Let's just sweep it under the rug, and we have a very nice house to raise our family in. There just so happen to be some bodies in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. We can grow a garden down there.
They were probably properly buried and everything.
Yeah, a proper Christian burial.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. They don't even have to worry about any hauntings or anything. They probably got, like, sent to heaven, It's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, we're good. Babe, we're good. Trust me.
It's all set.
Now I'm envisioning a movie that tries to, like, that's like a sequel to this movie set like 20 or 30 years later or something, with like the kids of Mortimer and Elaine finding out about the bodies in the basement or something like that. And I feel like that movie, like that's a movie that would be played way too straight into like the thriller horror aspect of it.
Yeah.
Rather than comedy.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's like, oh, they find out that, oh, our great aunts, they did so many murders and stuff. What do we do about this? We have to solve this. So we have to tell someone.
Do we know?
And then Jonathan comes back, and it's like, oh no, it's a slasher now or something like that.
This little old man. Tall old man.
This tall little old man that's going to do a murder still.
Yeah. I believe in him.
But that's our movie. That's Arsenic and Old Lace. What a fun little romp.
Yeah.
The oldest movie we have talked about on this podcast, and probably will remain the oldest movie, unless we break into like, what, OG Dracula or Frankenstein or something?
Yeah, unless we
into some
start
Vincent
going
Price
to the 30s.
Movies.
Because technically I think the first like silent films would have been in like the 20s or something like that, and I don't think we're going that far back for the holidays.
I don't think we need to or anything like that, but I mean, maybe it's not out of the talking point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun to like visit these movies from almost 40, 80 years ago. Like it's
actually,
it's just, it's curious. It's just very fun to like see how much has changed and how much stuff has not changed. Like the comedy holds up.
Yes.
Like in all regards, these movies hold up. And that's not to say, like, oh, old things aren't good by modern day standards. Like,
Right.
no, obviously some things will always withstand the test of time. But it's very funny, like, oh, some of these jokes are still extremely funny and relevant to today.
The
like,
humor,
that is something that is
the
always
humor
fun.
just lands right in this movie all the time. And like that's hard to do, and not that you can't do it in modern films, but it feels like this was just built different.
Yeah, exactly.
Like rip to other comedy films, but this is different, and it was. But yeah, that was our journey to the past, Anastasia style.
That was our journey to the past, Anastasia style. Is Anastasia a holiday movie? Is that a Christmas movie?
I don't think so.
I know it's like that movie feels like it's been related to Christmas time, but I don't know if that's like the music or the setting or what have you.
It was released in November.
I've only ever seen that movie like once or twice when I was much, much younger, and I don't remember anything from it.
I always like that movie, honestly. I think it's cute. It's a good time. Don Bluth movies being Don Bluth movies.
Don
as they
Bluth
are.
movies.
Yeah. It's definitely
Disney who?
Yeah, exactly. Even though it is now on Disney Plus because it was acquired, or Fox was acquired by Disney.
Yeah.
But she is.
What doesn't
still
Disney
not,
own now?
Yeah, it is still not a Disney movie. Thankfully.
But yeah, Arsenic and Old Lace, very solid, very good time. I feel like I would like to see more things from this era of movie making, or just in general, just like see. I don't know. I don't know if I would. I don't know myself, not having researched or been into many movies of this era. I would be interested in seeing more movies of the same ilk, of like the comedy, like mixture of genre, from this time. I don't know if any of them hit the same note as this one does, but the notes that this movie does hit are all extremely good.
Yeah.
I feel like they find the exact right mix of tension, like thriller, comedy, romance, etc. That it all comes together in a very well done movie, acted really well by a cast that know what they're doing, obviously because most if not all of these actors were in the Broadway production of the movie, of the story for years before the filming or around the time of the filming. Like they obviously know the roles and they know how to act well. Yeah. It is just a different. It's a different time. I am not nostalgic for the period, but it was just simply a different time of actors that were very different from today's standards. You have good actors nowadays, but there's just the feeling of these characters. Like I feel like we don't have like a modern day Cary Grant or things like in something like that. Right. Like you just don't see this kind of character actor, like this kind of person in modern day. You have a lot more like really played straight, like, well, good actors, but not anyone that like plays it the way that does.
Yeah.
We need more bicons in modern day.
We really do.
Modern day acting.
We've got Tom Hardy. Forget about that one.
Is Tom Hardy bi?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take it. Go watch Venom.
Please, everyone, go watch that movie.
If we could tell you one movie to go watch Venom.
Yeah. It's not great, but it's fun. And that's all that really matters, or should matter at the end of the day.
But yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on Arsenic and Old Lace? This was a movie that we sort of did at your recommendation, because you're a big fan of this movie for years and years.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What do you have to say?
I'm glad that this movie does still hold up, honestly. And I don't think it ever won't. We're going to have to just keep this in the back pocket of best movies forever kind of thing.
Just sometimes you got to go and revisit some things like this.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of Holidaze. We had a really good time here. If anyone is ever listening to this in consequential order and you hear us talking about how certain episodes will release on certain days and this is what we're going to listen, this is what we're going to watch and talk about next, we sometimes actually
unintentionally
lie. Yeah, we lie. You know, I think that's very sexy of us, actually.
Yeah.
But things happen. Hopefully the next time you hear us, we will be talking about a very special Disney movie that centers around witches. That was a very near and dear movie to my heart when I was younger, and that Will has not really seen much of.
I know of it, but I don't think I've actually sat down and watched it in the entirety.
And what we're talking about is Twitches 1 and 2, starring Tia and Tamara Mowry.
My twin's big like Tia Tamara.
Yeah?
Doja Cat.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Doja. We're going to catch you all next time. As usual, I have been Tyler. You can find me on Twitter at JazzySmoothReal, and you can find the show at Holidaze Podcast on Twitter. And obviously, we always link to our YouTube as well, where we upload all our episodes. And currently, the only place you can find them. Will, where can people find you?
Across the web.
Across the web?
Yeah, like across the universe, but it's just internet. But with better music, because I'm not the Beatles.
What's the universe?
Well, I think you gotta ask NASA about that one.
All right. I'm gonna go ask NASA. You
Nice.
all have a lovely day. Or night. Or honestly, fuck you. Have a bad day and bad night. It's Halloween.
Oh, wow.
You can, you know what?
Oh, it is
have
bad. It's
have a bad,
good to be bad.
Have a bad day.
It's good to be bad.
It's good to be bad.
All right.
All right.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everyone. Bad night, everyone.